Good evening, my fellow brothers and my fellow sisters. Greetings, everyone. Let me welcome you to another edition of the Never An Afterthought show. If you're just joining us for the first time, the norms are pretty simple. You follow this discussion using the hashtag Never An Afterthought, and we'd like to drive these conversations across our various social media. On Twitter, which is at NAA_book, on Instagram and Facebook, which is at NA Afterthought. And obviously you can drop me a line on email at podcast. Our email is podcast@neveranafterthought.com. Also, you can also drop your comments on the channel, any of the channel that you're either listening to me or you are watching me. So today we are back again by popular demand. We're still on our series of It Worked For Me. When we talk about It Worked For Me, we're talking about a set of principles that have titled Peer, Passion, Integrity, Empathy, Reliability, and resilience. These are a set of principles that have worked for me in life, that have worked for me in leadership, that have worked for me in private sector and in public sector. In addition to that, we've also been discussing what we call the 3 C's, which are basically character, capacity, and competence. Now, these are sets of guiding principles that I have honed over the years, that have worked for me in life, that have worked for me in leadership. And as we continued on these episodes, we therefore began to discuss another exciting topic, which is around how humans can win over robots in the 4th Industrial Revolution. You all know that we are now in a knowledge economy more than an industrial economy, and that in this economy, that economy is now being challenged by digitization, by automation, as we approach the 4th Industrial Revolution. Some would argue that we are already in the 4th Industrial Revolution. So whether we're already in 4IR or we are approaching it, the bottom line is, in that 4th Industrial Revolution, humans will be racing against machines. Humans will be racing against robots. Artificial intelligence, machine learning are new skill sets that are going to overtake us in the world of work, which we tend to call the future of work. And we started discussing last week that future is now. And so what you find, therefore, is we as humans must begin to learn new skills, new collaborative skills, not just working with ourselves, but also working with machines. We started this conversation last week, and I had with me on set my guest, and who I like to call, a champion in this space. She is no other person than Adora Neboh, and we'll be continuing again today because you all wanted her back. But before I bring her in, and we'll begin to talk about continue our conversation on that topic again today, let me read a few comments. I want to thank you for joining us, and I want to thank you for participating in the conversation. And I want to thank you, most importantly, for sending in your feedbacks. I'm going to read a few feedbacks that I have received. I've received feedbacks on WhatsApp, via email, and obviously some of the comments that you drop on the YouTube channel. And we're going to read through a few of it just right away. On WhatsApp, I did receive a feedback all the way from Jos, Plateau State in Nigeria, from Ajia Sumaye. And this is our feedback. And it says, wow, this is good teaching. Several aspects of developing a leader with skills, interpersonal communication skills, and aspects of emotional intelligence. This is really good, and I'm going to share widely. Thank you, Ajia Sumaye, for that feedback from Jos, Plateau State. I have another one which I received by email. I remember I said our email is podcast@neveranafterthought.com. And this came from Anne, all the way from Calgary, Alberta in the country of Canada, the cold country of Canada. And she says, nice topic. Adora was amazing. You should bring her back to speak more on critical thinking. We had a few feedbacks on Twitter as well. So I want to go to Twitter. Yes, so on Twitter, there was another comment that came from Chigozie Madom. And it reads, quite an exciting conversation. Much need to be done about our education system here in #Nigeria. Government also need to be serious with our education. Indeed, our curriculum from nursery to university need serious adjustments. We must leverage on human intuition over machine to survive. The conversation continued by saying, NYC, please reach out. It will be of great value and importance to every COP member as well as prospective ones. I honestly wish I had this opportunity while I was in NYC, and he went ahead to attach his picture while serving while in NYC camp. Thank you, Chigozie, for that feedback on Twitter. And so I then go to YouTube, which is where we are. If you're watching me, you're on YouTube. If you're listening to me, you obviously will be listening to me from podcast. But on YouTube, there's a feedback here from Ifoluwa Golding. He says, please, how can we get this episode again to our NYC camps? It will really be of help to them. This stuff you guys are discussing here is not taught in our universities. I see another one here from John Fadile on YouTube. He says again, we need to change our educational curriculum. Definitely not one for the future. Just like lawyers. I hope the lawyers don't come for you. We have way too many of them at the moment, and that skill may soon, some part of the skill may soon become obsolete. I wouldn't say lawyer skills will become obsolete. I would say some part of their skills may soon become obsolete. Now, what have we seen? After gleaning through a lot of the comments that have come on, we found that there's a whole lot of comments around education. Education. And incidentally, even from our conversations from episode 2, if I recollect, we've been talking about the need to reform education, to be able to adapt it to our 21st century, 21st century skilling. To that point, I am going to bring in the next episode, not today's episode, I'll be bringing in an education expert. I won't tell you her name yet, but I'll be bringing an education expert that will be on set with me to discuss what we should be doing around reforming of our education. So we won't be taking your feedbacks on education today. We will not. But there will be a few feedbacks that we'll be taking. Since I have Adora back, we'll be taking other feedbacks. And some of those feedbacks today will be, there was a point I did not read. And it came from, there was a very exciting comment that came from one, I think it says One Love Music. So perhaps I can tell that your second hobby is music, or your first hobby is music. It says, I find it weird when I hear a company checks on applicant social media page. Now I know why. Thanks, Adora. Wow. So, today, amongst other comments and feedback, we will be discussing comments, on social media. That particular comment on social media, we'll be discussing that, and we'll also be discussing there are also a few other comments around endangered jobs. We should speak more about endangered jobs. We should speak more about thinking critically. And so I have Adora on set, and I'll be bringing her after the break to join me in continuing our conversation on how humans can win over robots in the fourth industrial revolution. Stay tuned. Thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome again to the Never An Afterthought show. Today, we continue our conversation on how humans can win over robots in the fourth industrial revolution. I won't be doing justice to this alone. As we started last week, I have on set with me my friend, Adora Neboh, transformation design expert. Is the CEO of Chrysalis Professional Services in Boston, USA. And like I introduced her last week, she worked formerly of KPMG, just like I did in my work history, Phillips Consulting, and most recently, before setting up our own firm, Chief Talent Officer for Troika Nigeria Limited. Adora, thanks to have you again.
Thank you, Afolabi. Glad to be back.
I said to you when we were wrapping up that, I told you I was only going to pause you. I wasn't going to stop you. But I knew that by popular demand, you may be back. And alas, you are back by popular demand. So it means that you're doing something right. So you want to say something to our viewers, our listeners, our audience who have actually demanded you come back.
Well, I'm glad to be back. And this is a topic that is very dear to my heart, because this is really the reason I do what I do. So I am happy to talk about it some more. I'm also really impressed at the kind of questions that we are getting, because I think it helps us get to the core of what people need to know. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
If you're just joining us, welcome to the Never An Afterthought show. Today we continue our conversation on how humans can win over robots. Remember, you can join this conversation with the hashtag Never An Afterthought on Twitter at NAA_book, on the various social media channels, Facebook and Instagram at NA Afterthought. And you can always send us an email at podcast@neveranafterthought.com. Better still, you can drop your comments and thoughts on the comment section of the platform where you are listening or watching us today. So Adora, we're going to start our conversation today with let me read that Harvard Business Review comment that we shared last week. And it says in one of the researches that was done, it says 93% of employers reported that a candidate's demonstrated capacity to think critically, communicate clearly, and solve complex problems is more important to them than his or her undergrad or postgraduate degree. I want to underscore that point about candidates' demonstrated capacity. And that's because two questions came, and I want to tie those two questions to one. One came from, there was a question here that came from Anne, as I read in Calgary, that says, please bring Adora back to expatiate more about really thinking critically. Very important. And then I would add to say, not just thinking critically, but communicating clearly, solving complex problems, and even all those other power skills that we spoke about, which I will reiterate again as we wrap up today. But the second question I want to tie to open up our conversation is another question that came from Collins Kinika. And he says, how do applicants present these skills to employers? And that's so tied to the fact that he says candidates demonstrated capacity. So it's not just about you writing it in your CV. It means that there's a way employers look for how you truly possess these skills. So the floor is yours, Adora. Fire.
Wow, that's loaded. And there's no way I can explain all of it in this short conversation, but I'm going to try to make it as clear as possible. First of all, someone said, can I talk more on those skills that we are discussing, such as critical thinking, and what we are really looking for when we're looking for that. We are looking for, what we usually search for is that ability to go beyond the apparent when you're presented with a problem, you know, or an issue that you're supposed to solve. The way your mind works. Now, this isn't something that is necessarily taught in schools like a subject or a topic, but it's part of what you learn, but you don't actually know you're learning it, you know. But then by the time you get to the workplace, it becomes more formally taught to you. You know, you do courses on critical thinking and things and strategic thinking, where we teach you methods and techniques for doing this, for thinking critically, you know. But really what we're actually looking for is that ability to think beyond the apparent. You know, when you're presented with a problem, is it the first solution that comes to mind that you quickly go for? You know, is it the immediate answer that comes to mind that you go for? We're looking for your ability to make associations. So you have one question or one problem. Can you see all the other or many other surrounding issues around that specific problem? Or are you just isolating this issue as though it exists in an island by itself? You know what I'm trying to say? So do you see context? Do you see associations? Can you link other concepts to that specific concept? And how quickly can you do it? So I think, but let me say this, before we start talking about what specifically we're looking for, I think we should talk a little on how you can build these skills. So it's important for people to actually begin to think more, you know, more than what is that face value, so to speak. It's important for you to seek knowledge beyond a small area. So we're looking for that ability to be multidimensional, and for that multidimensionalism to come to play in your being able to solve problems. This is important because problems are not isolated anymore. Most things that we are faced with in the workplace of today are integrated. So when you see something that seems like an HR problem, it may not be an HR problem. It might be a finance problem, you know. Or when you see something that seems to you like it's just maybe people are just not working hard anymore. It might actually be something else that is driving that kind of behavior. So it's important we have people who can think deeply, who have diverse experience. So I always advise my mentees to do more than just do what they do at work. Find hobbies, read books, watching movies, you know, and doing all kinds of extracurricular things that help you build a wide base of knowledge that you can bring to play when you are faced with a problem. So I think multidimensionalism is critical, and we're actually looking for it. Now, to talk about how do we look for it, we look for it based on certain behavioral indicators, you know, and these we can define down to, you know, single indicators. What are those things that we can see you demonstrate? And we give you tests, we ask you questions, we simulate problems and get you to solve them real time, so we can see how you're behaving. When we're doing this, we have a long list of indicators that tell us whether you have just demonstrated critical thinking or not. So that's how we normally, so when you go for interviews and assessment centers and things like that, and you think we're just doing those things for fun, we're actually assessing specific behavior that we need to see you do. If we don't see you do them, we know that you don't qualify for this job. So basically, an assessment center for checking somebody, or an assessment center for matching someone to a job basically seeks to simulate the kind of environment that you will be faced with on that job and see if you can function if placed in that environment. So sometimes we put you under pressure, in that safe space, but we're really looking at you to see if you can do it in real life. So I hope that helps.
So you know also that there's an abundance of psychometric tests now, which are all part of the aptitude test that you spoke about. So I guess it's important, and a lot of these are also free. They are available online free.
Yes.
So you don't have to wait to get to that interview before you are startled at a psychometric test. I think every one of us should be taking a psychometric test to get an insight, a psychological insight of who you really are. The first challenge with a lot of us is we don't even know who we are, and it takes discoveries like this to really tell you about who you are. I started taking psychometric tests from very early on in my career as part of interview process for KPMG and a lot of the other top 4, as I described in the book, and obviously much later. And I find that almost every 5 years, I'm exposed to another set or series of psychometric tests because again, you would know as an HR person that what the test also tells you beyond revealing who you are, it also helps you to improve. So you know your areas of improvement, and over a few years, you are deliberately conscious to improve that, and you take another test again over the years to go. So
I'd like to say that it's predicated on the premise that you can modify your behavior.
Exactly.
That we are human beings and we change. So there's room to improve, and you can see specifically what areas you need to improve. I also want to add that a great way to build your critical thinking abilities is to play games. There's so many games, and there's so many tools, so many free tools online to help you do this. You can download an app. There's so many things you can do, actually. Games, art is another way, getting an appreciation of art, or even finding an art hobby is another good way of building your career. It's strange. People don't really see the connection between art and analytical thinking, but there's a big connection there, because art is actually a gift of perspective. It's not necessarily a certain talent by itself. It's just how you see things, and you try to replicate what you're seeing in your own way, using some kind of medium of art. So again, we're not singular human beings. We're not like one dimensional. So engage all these different parts of you, and you find that your ability to think clearly and think better grows.
Thanks, Adora. Like you said, I mean, this is a topic we can keep talking and talking, and it's like layers of an onion. You just keep unraveling and unraveling. But I'm also taking notes, and part of why I'm taking notes is also to help our viewers, so that in conclusion, I can summarize a whole lot from what you said and help them conclude. And those are also part of the thinking and the writing process. Okay, let's move to another feedback. There's another feedback that speaks about endangered jobs. In fact, there's one I think was one comment by Olawale Peters. He said, "Omo, this topic, they always fear me when they talk about these robots taking over jobs." And so a lot of comments came around this concept of RR that we discussed, repetitive and routinic, the type of jobs that are repetitive and routinic. So let's talk more about those endangered jobs. Again, like I was also mentioning about Folari's comments, so whilst I won't say the legal job is fully endangered, no, some specific aspects of the job may become automated, but lawyers will still be needed for context, for emotions, and all the things we've discussed. So let's just speak more about how do you know that what you're currently doing now is an endangered job, just using the RR technique.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, "Oh, the legal job is not completely endangered." but it is kind of endangered in some ways.
Yeah.
I think this is true for, if I may say, all jobs. I think every job will be touched by automation or technology in some way. What
Yeah.
happens when we have tools, we have new tools as humans, is that the things that we do as humans change. We used to eat with our fingers, for example, and then somebody invented tools for eating. And automatically we stopped using our fingers for eating. This does not apply if you're eating a bar.
The
So I'm
African food.
saying,
No, but unfortunately, secondary school, right?
yeah,
Boarding
they tried
house,
to, they took that
federal
away from
government
us.
money took nothing away from me. So even now, I can't eat a panelia with hand. It has to be a fork. But anyway, go ahead.
I refuse. I must eat a bar with my fingers.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so that's what I mean. Like, you find that what you do, and I'm using these analogies because they're easy to understand. What you do becomes different. So you kind of elevate yourself one step each time a new tool arrives. So the same goes for what's happening today. Now, when the repetitive process-based jobs that can be automated become automated in some way or the other, the role of the human being changes. So the human being goes one step up or two steps up or as many steps as they need to. So we keep elevating what we do. What has happened with what civilization or has done to the human being is that it's giving us a certain role in the world, which is the role of thinking. Like I said, I think I may have mentioned this last time. Martin Nomeyer wrote a book once. I can't remember the title of that book, but I remember a quote from that book where he said, "The last known competence to man will be creativity." So what is very straightforward. All these things we're doing, as time goes on, it will be taken away by new tools, be it technology or whatever. It will be a new tool that will take over some of the things that we physically do as human beings, or even some of the things we do in our minds or as work. But creativity and thinking will never be taken away from us because that is what makes us human. That part will. So we will keep going up. We will keep being pushed. So every job will be affected in some way or the other. There's no job that will remain the same, after we go through this era that we are currently going through. So if I may be more specific, there are certain jobs that we can see clearly that are going, like telemarketing, even a customer service. You make a call. I hardly speak to human beings now when I make a call to any agency or body or company. They tell me, oh, if you want to do this, press 1. If you want to do this, press 2. All those things can be automated because they're frequently asked questions. The more data we get, the more information AI gets, and the easier it can put together all that information and answer your questions, the more options it has. So customer service is fast going away, except for when you really need context and you need a human being to analyze that context and be human. Jobs like sales are also endangered because right now, if you go on, you can buy anything on the internet. So what do you need a human being for? There are apps to buy all kinds of things. You don't need a human being to sell you anything. All the information you need is on the internet. COVID-19 made it clear to us that you can buy almost anything on the internet. Reviews. Yes, reviews are going. Meat, everything.
In the heart of Nigeria, but most
everything. Reviews. The review system is becoming more sophisticated. So now there's a lot more questions that people are answering in their reviews, and they're becoming clearer. So they say time to deliver, quality of product. So it's not just a broad review anymore. They're asking specific. So whatever it is that you want to see in that product, so you don't need to go to the market and haggle anymore because all that is. So sales is suffering. Advertising is suffering. People say, but advertising is a creative job. Yes, and not really, especially the media buying part. So nobody's buying media physically anymore, because all you need to do, every app has some programmatic marketing feature where you
Yeah.
go there and decide what kind of ads you're going to place, how you're going to place it, how much your budget is. It does the thinking for you. We don't need a human for that. Payroll, compensation, and I hear HR people love to say that their job is not endangered. Their job is endangered in some ways. Things like payroll. I don't need a human being for payroll anymore. I just automate that and it works like clockwork. Even if you look at Workday and tools like that, that can get a lot of information and analyze the feedback they are getting and turn it into use. Even the benefits part of compensation and benefits is completely gone. Technology has that. Market research is gone. Retail sales, like I said, is gone. So you find that there's so many jobs that are
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean,
even
I
driving will be gone very soon with
even
self-drive cars. Driving, you don't need a driver anymore.
Obviously, driverless cars, right? Yeah.
So,
I mean, you're right. The one thing to our audience would realize, and the concept of never an afterthought for us, is the fact that we try to put our formulas and guides, and then you can figure it out. I mean, you said quite a lot, and there's the RR, who said the routinic and repetitive. So figure that out. Critical thinking, right? So we can't give you a whole long list, but perhaps at some point I would we would share some. There is this popular deck that has been that I've used in a few presentations around this topic. I would ensure that the book team puts it out so you can see more nuances around your jobs, that. So we're going to go on a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be on the final segment, which will be more relaxed and informal segment. There's something I've seen I'm going to talk about, and it will shock you, but it's going to be that'll be the more relaxing part, because most of our viewers are saying that they want us to also put in a bit of humor into this. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back. How humans can indeed win the robots in the fourth industrial revolution. There are certain things that humans possess that makes us gain an edge over the robot.
Now we're beginning to realize that these skills aren't that soft, especially when the hard skills are being taken over by technology. So those things that you were proud of that you could do, they were your core hard skills. Well, there's a computer somewhere doing it.
The question therefore remains, are we developing these skills that can be automated, that are required now and in the approaching fourth industrial revolution?
Please join me on YouTube every Thursday at 6 p.m. West African time for another exciting and engaging episode of the Never An Afterthought show.
Thank you, everyone. If you're just joining us, you are on the Never An Afterthought show. Today we've been discussing the continuation of our topic, how humans can win over robots. It's not just been myself. I've had my sister, my guest on the show, Adora Neboh. She's been with us discussing all of this. So we're about to wrap up now. But remember, you can still join the conversation with the hashtag Never An Afterthought on email, which is sending me an email, podcast@neveranafterthought.com, on Twitter @NAA_book, and on Facebook and Instagram @NA Afterthought. So, as I watch you speak, I peep in and I see that you're a lover of art. I see you're a lover of art. And then I noted something you said. You said art, it's a gift of perspective.
Yeah.
And you are also recommending art, to our viewers. Let me take you on art. What aspect of art do you love? Why do you love art?
Oh dear.
And tie that to the last question that came, our last topic we'll be discussing today. I came from One Love Music, who finds it weird when company checks our social media channels. So now, I'm sure if I go to your social media channels, there'll be a lot of uploads of art and pictures and abstract things, So tell me, how does art encapsulate Adora? And because guess what? One of the topics I'm going to have a friend come on the show soon. It's art and technology. I have that topic coming out soon. So yes, yeah.
Well, I actually, first of all, I don't think there's any. First of all, I think there's art in all of us.
And you also tell us about this art that I'm seeing behind us as you're just
I'm a painter.
So you
can see some of my work behind me. So some of those portraits are mine.
You can flip your video and show us the art. No, this is an informal bit now. So just flip. Just do video flip and it will focus on the art.
My home is pretty much filled with art.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
You didn't tell me you live in a studio, Adora. This is another part of you. Please show that part again. No, just show the wall.
Right now.
Don't worry. Just show us the wall. Just show us the wall.
You can see these over here are mostly my work. These portraits over here. This is something I have collected over time. You can see those two guys. I like them very much. They were people I found them on the streets of Togo a while ago. And I fell in love with them, so I got them. There's a lot of light here, but can you see the masks?
Interesting.
I got it from the States. I love masks, so I do a lot of masks and things like that. It helps me reconnect to Africa. And this was a gift from my people, my staff. And these are some art that I've been collecting over time. Some of them, they are from different parts of the world. South Africa, Rwanda, Nigeria, of course, America, of course. These two guys are from Rwanda, and some of them are from Congo. So there's quite a lot of them. This is also some more of my work from way back. I think this was 2015, when I still painted some abstract-ish art. So I've been collecting for a long time, and I don't even have enough space for most of my art.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So just tell us.
Art is something that helps you. It opens up your mind, because it's not binary. So it's not limited what you can do with art. So it forces you to think differently and innovatively. It forces you to create. So I think art is a critical part of our development. And I don't think that anybody is. I think every artist is multi-talented. So you find that you can do a lot. I write poetry, for example. I'm actually published, and it all comes from how I see the world. It's not like a specific gift. It's more the gift of perspective. What do you see when you look at the world around you? So you now use the mediums that you have. All these mediums, whether you're a painter or a singer or a writer or whatever, as your way of communicating your perspective of the world. So that's, to me, what art is. So you find that you rarely find an artist who only does one thing. Most artists do a lot of things. They can sing, they can dance, they can paint, they can write, and because of the way they see things. So if you're able to develop that part of your brain, which is, you remember the last time when I talked about the kind of things that human beings can do versus the kind of things computers can do. This is where it comes to play. That your ability to do this, that no computer can ever create like that. That's. So you're just developing parts of your brain that is meant to do these things. That's why art is important. I want to talk about the question regarding why
social media. What? Yes.
Social media.
Love music. Yes.
So first of all, there was this survey. I think it was Career Builder. If you check Career Builder, they did a survey with a lot of organizations, and they asked all these HR people, how many of you look at people's social media before you hire them? 7 out of 10 employers said they check your social media before they hire you. And so this is not something that, so if don't live in la la land and think that nobody is going to check your social media. We will check your social media. And so that's number one. And I'm not saying hide yourself. In fact, project yourself, but be conscious that you're projecting yourself how you want to be seen or perceived. Once you can figure that out and figure out your language, figure out how you want to present yourself, then that becomes who you are. So it's a great way to demonstrate your authenticity as a human being, because you're not limited. This is your platform to showcase yourself. So go ahead and showcase your true self so that we can find you. The people that really deserve you can find you. But we will check. A lot of them, 57% of these same people said they discovered content that caused them not to hire someone. 57%. 47% said, we may not put you through the process if you don't have any online presence today. We won't even bother with you because we can't find enough information. So basically what we're doing with social media these days is to add it to part of the assessment tools. So checking social media is just another assessment tool. It's just another way to cut off people or to shortlist people. So we check your CV, which we know you wrote after eating very well and and with a dictionary beside you, and maybe a consultant on the other side. So your CV is good, but okay, it doesn't tell us a lot about you. Interviews tell us only 40% about you, and it's usually about your technical competence. So how do we find out more? We go to your social media to look at your behavior, to look at your values, to look at whether we can join ourselves to you in this marriage called employment. And please feel free to look at our social media and see if that is why brands are being very emotional in their social media feeds. They are engaging with human beings. They're not just engaging with their customers. They are engaging with their future employees. They're engaging with partners that they will work with in future. So they tell you their values, their mission, their goals on social media. So feel free to check me out because I'll be checking you out. We're looking at information on your job qualification, more information. We're looking especially for what people are saying about you, not just what you're saying about yourself. So you see that feature on LinkedIn that says how many people endorsed you. It's an important feature. We want to see the kind of where you got the highest marks from your endorsements. So it tells us exactly how people see you and not just how you see yourself. We're looking for your professional persona. We're looking for any possible reason not to hire you. Were you a terrorist before? Or something we need to know. So that's what we're looking for. And believe you me, that's not going to end soon. And remember, if you don't have an online presence, we may not even bother.
57% says
47% we won't bother if you don't have an online presence.
47% says they will not bother if you don't have an online presence. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that number will grow as time goes on. Yeah.
47% is almost 50% already.
Yes.
Thank you, Adora. Thank you so much. We can't have enough of you, but really thank you for today. And I'm sure our audience would keep engaging with us and with you through our various social media channels.
I'm available on LinkedIn as myself. So if anybody wants to ask questions, they can ask on your platform or just send me.
Or your own platform.
Usually,
we also have your social media, your Twitter handle as well. I tweeted at you last week when we.
Well, Adora, thank you very much. It's been an awesome time. Let me just try and summarize a few things that she spoke about. She talked about critical thinking, and in summary, it's really about clarity of thoughts and how those clarity of thoughts also impact on your writing, not focusing on the what alone, but the why, so that as you focus on the why, it stimulates your brain to think. And she spoke a lot about, your extracurricular. the skills you develop from your extracurricular, from games, bring them into the workplace. She spoke about art. Obviously, you saw, she took us through our own little mini art studio, and basically saying that art is a gift of perspective. Now to One Love Music, that spoke about so the linkage of social media to employers hiring or not hiring. You can see really how just look at from our own perspective how art reveals who she really is, and has enabled her to have multi-perspective, multi-dimensional perspective. And lastly, the talk about your social media footprints should reveal your authenticity. I think that's so powerful. Your social media footprints should reveal your authenticity, just the same way you go to the websites and check the social media feeds of the brands and the companies that you want to work with or you aspire to work with. So also they would search out your own footprints as well, your digital footprints, be it on social media, be it on LinkedIn, your network, so to speak, your digital social networks. Very important. And you heard the survey. 47%, which will keep increasing, 47% in my view, is already 50% said they will not even bother initiating an interview with you if they cannot find, your digital footprints. I think that's so powerful. Again, we're wrapping up. You asked us to have this session where we've talked really about those skills that are very important for the surviving jobs, those skills that would give you the edge over the robots in this fourth industrial revolution. We've spoken a lot more about critical thinking today. We've spoken a lot more about creative problem solving, because critical thinking is very much akin to creative problem solving. And if you do get a copy of my book, I also spoke, which is a Never An Afterthought book, which you can get on our website. I also spoke a lot about the problem solving skills I have applied in my own short journey. Adaptive learning, some of the skills we've been speaking about. Effective communication. You can see the linkage between clarity of thoughts, writing, even your extracurricular, how it all shapes your brain, teamwork, interpersonal skills, working well with others, and now I'm also working well with machines, with artificial intelligence. We've spoken about RR, routinic and repetitive jobs. Those basically are the nuances you need to look for in your jobs that will tell you whether your jobs are endangered or not. Emotional intelligence, and last but not the least, decision making, judgment, using the power of context and emotions. So that's the much we can take today on this topic. As I promised, we would be bringing in a guest on education, an education expert that will be speaking to us around the reforms of education, how our education should begin to address these skills, how also you can, Adora has also mentioned how you can develop yourself on these skills. You have a lot of courses available online on Coursera and things like that. So till I come your way again, let's not forget to continue the conversation using the hashtag Never An Afterthought across all our social media channels. You can drop me an email, podcast@neveranafterthought.com, our Twitter @NAA_book, our Facebook and Instagram @NA Afterthought. Till I come your way again, stay safe, stay well, and keep winning. God bless you.